contemporary is a contemporary song is anything that's within the last 100 years. That's basically contemporary Irish music. I'm going to start with some traditional tunes. This one's called Whiskey in the Jar. It tells the tale of a man who robs Captain Farrell, then goes and gives the money to his woman, and of course she turns him in. It's one of those stories. It's one of those shake your hand at the end of its stories. But it's a good old Irish tune. It's called Whiskey in the Jar. Sing along if you know it. I left it Captain Farrell, that is money he was counting. I just used my pistol. I haven't finished my winter stand. Stand and deliver for remark. I'm going to see her for sure. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar. Well, I counted out the money. I put it in for afterwards. Well, he counted out his money and it made a pretty penny. I put it in my pocket and I gave it to my Jenny. She signed and she swore that she never would deceive me. But the devil said no women before they never had the easy. She never did with a doubt. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar. The got to me. Then I went to my chamber for to take a slumber. I drank the bowl and jewels, and for sure it was no wonder. But Jenny took my charges and filled them up with water. Sent Captain Farrell to be ready for the slaughter for sure. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar. It was early in the morning before I rose to travel. The guards were all around me, and like this Captain Farrell, I let them inside this room where she stole away my baby. But I couldn't shoot no water, so I was taken for sure. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar. Now, if anyone can aid me, it's my brother in the army. I think Daddy is stationed in Concord, Killarney. And if he come and join me, we go roving and kill Jenny. I swear he treated Baron of my darling's fun, Jenny for sure. Never been to a dog. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar. Have some that take delight in fishing or in bowling. Others take delight in the carriage as you're rolling. But I take delight in the juice of the barley. Courting pretty girls in the morning, bright and early. Surely never do the that. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar. I'm surely never do that. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? There's whiskey in the jar.
Ed, can you hear me?
Yes.
They're telling me that the audio is scratchy. You know, maybe you can adjust your microphone. It says sounds breaking up. Sounds is choppy. So I said, let me just.
It's a little loud, and because we moved too close.
It might be too loud now.
That's why I was saying maybe if we turn it down a bit, it might be.
Well, that's a bummer. Let's try another song and see what happens. Am I breaking up right now, I wonder?
No, your voice sounds well. It's only when you were singing that the audio was a little scratchy. This wasn't.
Okay.
The sound was choppy, but when you speak, you sound well.
Okay. Well, let's try another song and see if I can correct that from here.
Thank you.
That song was Whiskey in the Jar, as I said before, an old traditional tune. And so is this next one. And you may have heard this one if you've ever been around any Irish party. This song usually gets brought out at least once per party. It's called the Black Velvet Band. And it tells another tale of a man done wrong. I think that might have been the theme back then for some reason. All the Irish songs was done wrong by a strange woman. So this one's called the Black Velvet Band. And let me know if the sound is any better. In a big town, they all go wild. Over and just a tree out found. And many years an hour of sweet happiness I spent in that big little town. Till a sad misfortune came over me, which caused me to stray from the land. Far away from my friends and creation, far the black velvet path. Oh, here I station like a dragon. You'd think she was queen of the land, and her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. As I was out strolling one evening, not meaning to go very far, when I met with this little song damsel, she was sailing straight out the bar. When a watch she took from a customer and slipped it right into my hand. And the law came and put me in prison and locked to her black velvet hand. Station like a diamond. You'd think she was queen of the land, and her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. Next morning before Judge and jury for trial I was to appear. And the judge, she said, my young fellow, the case against you is quite clear. And it's 7 years transportation. You're heading for that demon's land. Far away from influence and relations, the battle of the black velvet land. Station like a diamond. You think she was queen of the land, and her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. Also, come on, you jolly young fellow, I'll have you take party with me. And whenever you're out of the liquor, relax, beware of your pretty belly. Or she'll fill you with whiskey and porter till you are not able to stand. And the very next thing that you know, relax, you'll land in a driver's land. Station like a diamond. You think she was queen of the land, and her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. Yes, her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band.
Thank you.
They're saying the sound's a little
Sounds
uneven.
uneven.
Yeah.
Meaning, what does that mean? It's not balanced, or
Yeah, which it doesn't tell me which
I
is
need to-
louder.
what does it mean by not balanced?
Let me tell you what they say here. Yes, still choppy. It looks like Zoom's problem. Sound not even. And somebody said also could be a bandwidth problem. Lots of moving parts between Mr. Ryan and the rest of us. So sounds scratchy and choppy still. I don't know if it's because can make out words. That's what somebody said. They cannot.
Because it's not loud enough, the words, or it's chopping
I
up.
don't know.
When you speak, the audio is coming in and out, like
Even right now, when I'm speaking right now, is the audio cutting in and
no,
out?
the audio is fine now when you speak. I hear you well when you speak.
Some people are saying they think it's an internet problem, but we just replaced everything.
We replaced the modem and the router just yesterday, so everything is brand new.
For today.
That's a shame. Let me see if I don't go through the speaker, if that makes any difference.
Better maybe if you talk.
Someone said maybe
I can hear you well.
What's that?
I can hear you well now.
All right, well, I'm just gonna try it without the microphone.
I was gonna
Yeah,
suggest
that's
that.
better.
And let's see what happens.
That's it.
All right, we'll try one more thing and see what happens.
Thank you much. Thank
All
you.
right, I'm gonna try to play for you guys. Now those are two songs that are like pub songs, and again had that slant where the man was done wrong by the woman. And we're gonna fix that with this next song. This next song is what you'd call a more contemporary Irish tune, because like I said, it was recorded within the last 100 years. But it tells a beautiful story about a tragic time in Ireland in the mid 1800s when Ireland went through its great potato famine and people were starving by scores. There was no food. People had to leave the country. The problem being, of course, now, if you know anything about the Irish Troubles that they call, the English own 6 of the 32 counties that are in Ireland. Just like the United States has 50 states, Ireland has 32 counties, including Mayo, Donegal, Dublin, things you've heard of, and Kerry. Of those 32, 6 of them are run by British rule at the top in Northern Ireland. And the other 26, if I'm not mistaken with my math, are run by Irish rule. Now, back then, during the potato famine, there was some food to be had, but it was the king's food. It was the royal food. It was not allowed for the peasants or the common Irish people. And they called that corn in this next song, Trevelyan's corn. So if you hear that phrase, you know what I'm talking about. So this next song is actually a very tender song about those troubled times. Much like in Les Miserables, the character in this song steals some corn, some food, Trevelyan's corn, to feed his family because they're starving. And of course, you're not allowed to. That's the king's corn. So he is placed under shackles, and he's going to be sent off on a prison ship to Botany Bay, which is a prison island. It's a prison. And so before this happens, his wife is standing on the dock, and they have an exchange from the prison wall to the dock where the boat is waiting to take him away. And that's the entire background to this song. I hope you get to hear it without any interruptions. And the name of the song is The Fields of Athenry. Okay.
Or turn off the.
Okay. Prison wall, I heard a young girl call for me. Like a thing, I can't get you away. For you stole Trevelyan's coin, so our young might see the morn. Our prison ship lies waiting in the bay. Well, I've been right where once you watched the smoke rivers slide. Our love was on the way. We had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's lonely around the field, passing by. I don't need prison wall. I heard the young man go. Nothing matters, baby, when you're free. Against the time of the crown, I rebelled, he shot me down. Now you must raise a child with dignity. Laughing and crying, there once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing. We had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's the only way around the fields, laughing and by the lonely harbor wall, she watched the last star fall. As the winds on the ship set sail against the sky, now she live and hope and pray for her lovely body babe. So lonely around the fields, laughing loud. We watch the small birds fly. We had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's nowhere around the fields, driving by. Yes, it's so lonely round the fields of Africa. Ask.
When you're closer, it's better. They're still having issues with sound, like the sound quality is not good. I don't know if it's because we're we're zooming from them, that way they could have sound issues on their side and our side,
Yeah,
it's hard to know which
I don't know what
side.
to say.
But just try to stay a little closer.
Yeah.
Is this too close? Just let me know if this is too close. I don't want to freak out. I feel like the Wicked Witch in that scene. I'll give you anything. Scariest part of the movie.
Yeah. It says, when you speak, I can hear you well.
Okay.
But it says here, it wasn't the microphone, having trouble hearing the guitar clearly. Sound from the guitar is not coming clearly.
They're saying it sounds a little like you're underwater. That was one of the
I don't know what to tell you. Sounds great in the room. I have the guitar off on that one. I didn't have it going through the microphone.
Okay.
That. See, but if I do that, then I have to use the microphone. It's so confusing. Oh, was it any better? I don't understand. I'm gonna have to try one more. Maybe if I'm closer and use both these things. We're trying so hard.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh fuck.
Hey. This next song, I'm gonna try it anyway. After the potato famine, of course, devastated Ireland, and people left the country in droves and had to seek a new life in a new land. A lot of people came right here to the US of A, and more specifically, came right here to good old New York. And here's a great song written by a second-generation Irishman named Terrence Winch, and he was born in the Bronx. And this is a song he wrote called When New York Was Irish. And I hope this works. I really, really do. I sing you a song of days long ago when the people from Galway and the county Mayo and all over Ireland came over to stay and take up a new life in America. We were never so happy, we were was so sad to grow old in the new world. Times and flies, all the parties and weddings, the kids and wakes. When New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreaks. We worked on the subways, we ran the saloons, we built all the bridges, we played all the tunes. We put out the fires and controlled City Hall. Started with nothing and wound up with it all. They were never so happy, they were never so sad. To go over the world, time to fly. All the parties and weddings, the Kennedys and the wakes. When New York was Irish, of joys and heartbreaks. You can travel from Kingsbridge to Queens or Midtown, from High Bridge to Bay Ridge, from uptown to down. From the east side to the seaside, sweet summer scenes. We made New York City our island of dreams. They were never so happy, they were never so sad. To grow older in the new world, time to fly. All the parties and weddings, the gays and wakes. When New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreaks. When I forgot the photos, now brittle with time, of the people I cherished when the city was mine. How I long for those glorious days, how I long for the days when we danced in the aisle. They were never so happy, they were never so sad. To grow old in the new world, to the chance and back. All the parties and weddings, the gays and the wakes. When New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreaks. When New York was Irish, full of joys and heartbreaks. Any better? Any better?
Yes.
Anything?
I'm waiting for her.
Okay.
Better. Yes, better. Thank you very much. Better. Thank
Okay.
you.
Whew. Let's see if we can keep it there. Don't move. Don't anybody move. Whatever you're doing at home, you did it. If everyone stands still, remember like the old days with an antenna, with the television, you had to stand outside with a coat hanger and don't move. The TV is on. Well, that's what we're doing today. So whatever you're doing, don't move. I'm not going to move my feet. I got to stand right here. The people did come to, the Irish did come to New York and built a whole world here. And of course, they weren't wanted at first. Like many of the ethnicities that came to America, they were shunned at first, but then strove, right? Strove, is that the past tense of strived? It's a library. I should be speaking correct English. But which sure did come here. The Irish came here and they brought with them a tradition of music, food, culture, and the worst jokes that you ever want to hear in your life. They're so bad that they're great. The Irish sense of humor is just the more ridiculous, the better the joke. It's just, for example, and first of all, they're all about a person named Murphy. So if your last name was Murphy, you got jokes told about you all the time. A typical Murphy joke would be something like, Murphy was arrested for bank robbery, but the judge found there was not enough evidence and dismissed the case, which prompted Murphy to say, does that mean I get to keep the money? You know, those kind of stupid. Guy's stupid. Or a typical Murphy got a fountain pen for Christmas. After a few days, he returned it to the store. They said, what's the matter? Does it leak? He said, no, it can't bloody spell. Is this thing on? Murphy, of course, and Murphy and Mrs. Murphy. So Murphy, for Christmas, he asked his wife, what can I get you for Christmas, darling? She said, oh, Murphy, anything with diamonds in it would be lovely. So he bought her a deck of cards. The next following year, Mrs. Murphy said, now listen, Murphy, listen closely. Nothing would make me happier than diamonds. So he bought her nothing. Make her happier. She said to him one day, Murphy, what do you love best about me? Me beautiful face or me sexy body? He said, your sense of humor. Oh, she said, Murphy, when you die, I'm going to dance on your grave. He said, I hope you do. I'm going to be buried at sea. Stupid stuff. They're out doing their Christmas shopping and they bought so many gifts that they can't even see out the back of the car. All of a sudden, Murphy notices that he's getting pulled over by a policeman. Pulls over and says, what's the matter, officer? Was I speeding? Officer says, no, Murphy, are you daft? Did you not even realize your wife fell out of the car a mile back? Murphy said, oh, thank God. I thought I'd gone deaf. Murphy came home one night, drunk and amorous. He looked at Mrs. Murphy, said, oh, I want to make love to you in the worst way. She said, you already do. They came up to Mrs. Murphy's door. They knocked on at the women down the block. They said, Murphy's out there chasing young women. She says, oh, I don't care. She says, what do you mean you don't care? We just saw him in the light of day. He's chasing young women. She says, I don't care. Dogs chase cars. That doesn't mean they can drive them. Stupid. Murphy's friend said to him one day, says, my wife is driving me to drink. Murphy said, you're lucky. My wife makes me walk. Anyway, let me see. Maybe I should go on to a song at this point. It's a great sense of humor. It's just that I'll tell you a quick one. While I tune up, Murphy and his buddy, they've been working at the same factory for many a year, and they noticed lately that the foreman, the boss, has been taking 2-hour lunches. Now that's not fair. Everyone else gets 45 minutes. And the boss is well, who's going to tell him any different? He's in charge. So Murphy and his friend get it in their idea. They said, hey, got an idea. When we notice the boss go to lunch, one of us take a 2-hour lunch and the other guy keep an eye on things and just make sure you're back before the boss gets back. So, that's a grand idea, Murphy. We'll start tomorrow. Great. The next day comes. They notice the boss go to lunch. Murphy says, I'll go first. I'll take me a 2-hour lunch and I'll be back. You just keep an eye on things. Now Murphy lives close by. He'll figure I'll go home, have himself a sandwich, maybe even take a nap. He'll be back. So he gets to his house. He gets in the door, right? Comes in the door and he hears some noises coming from the bedroom. He sneaks on over to the bedroom. He peeks in and sure enough, there's Mrs. Murphy and the foreman. Murphy gets incensed. He runs out the door. He runs into his car. He drives back to the job. He runs to his partner. The partner sees the panic on Murphy's face. He says, Murphy, what's wrong? Murphy says, I almost got caught. Ba-dum-bum. This is a song called I'll just know when he says he loves her. All the boys are fighting for her. Knock at the door every day. But that's telling me she loves are you well? I'm just by the snow. Rings on her fingers, no mercy. Oh, just sorry, said she'll die. She doesn't get the fire with the rolling eye. When I go home, the boys won't be. Girl, belong to her. My hair is so cold. That's all I can I go home. Yes, I see. The wind can reach and the hills go high and the snow comes tumbling from the sky. She's as fine as apple pie, she'll get her own love by and by. When she finds a line of her own, she won't turn around, she's so smooth. And them all come out, stay where it's covered, boy, she loves you. When I go home, the boys won't be the girls alone. My hair don't take home, that's so late tonight. It's hard so she's great. You think I will the first I see. The color can't want to. People tell me The ice cream is handsome, cheese ready. He's the bell that's singing. The chorus in 1, 2, 3. I just want to tell you to be. Still on? We're still on. Good. I told you, don't move, don't do nothing. Very good. Shoot. That's I'll Tell Me Ma, an old traditional tune. Beautiful tune with fiddles. What's my?
Oh, we have some friends watching.
Can. But did I tell you about Murphy yet? Oh, did I tell you about Murphy? How could I not? Murphy and his buddy are out fishing. They're out fishing in their little boat. And he gets one on the line. He pulls it in. It's not a fish. It's an old lamp, like a genie's lamp. He said, they laughed at it. He said, what happens if we rub it? And sure enough, they rubbed it. And Genie came out. And he said, I will grant you one wish. And without thinking, Murphy's friend says, turn the sea into beer. And the Genie said, done. Disappears. And now the sea is full of beer. Murphy's friend looks around all excitedly. And Murphy looks at him and goes, you idiot. Now we're going to have to pee in the boat. Too soon? Mrs. Murphy, Murphy says to Mrs. Murphy, would you love me if my father hadn't left me his fortune? She said, Murphy, I'd have loved you no matter who left you their fortune. So silly. Which one am I on? Okay. I'm trying. Oh, yeah, here's a good one. Murphy's going up a hill. He sees another fella coming out of the woods and down the hill. He notices the fella's got a sack over his back that he's carrying. He says, what's in the sack? He says, ducks. I've been duck hunting. Got to feed the family. Murphy says, I got to feed the family too. I have no ducks at all. I'll tell you what, I'll strike you a bargain. If I can guess how many ducks you've got in that sack, will you give me one? The fella looks at him. He says, you think you're so clever. If you can guess how many ducks I've got in the sack, I'll give you both of them. And Murphy says, 3? I'll do one more. One more joke, and then I got a very serious song to tell you about. This is a good one. There's Murphy working. He works, first of all, Murphy works every job. So no matter what the joke is, he fits right in that occupation. This time, he's a construction worker. They're building a building. Remember those old photos you used to see back in the early 20th century of the skyscrapers with the fellas sitting out on the beams with their lunches? It's a famous photo with the newspaper boy caps on. Well, that was Murphy and his job. Him and his 2 best friends, for the purposes of this joke, they are a Englishman and a Scotsman, just for the purposes of this joke. So there's Murphy and his 2 best friends and their co-workers, and every day when it's lunchtime, they go up to the highest beam, dangle their legs off, open up their lunch tins, and enjoy a nice lunch. Well, one day they're up there, pardon me, and the Scotsman opens up his lunch and he says, haggis. Every day my wife puts haggis in my lunch pail. I'm so sick of haggis. I tell you what, fellas, if I get haggis one more time in my lunch pail, I'm going to jump off this building. I said, you're crazy. The Englishman opens up his tin. He says, ham and English mustard. Every day my wife puts ham and English mustard in my tin. I'm with you. If I get ham and English mustard one more time, I'm jumping off this building. Murphy says, you're both nuts. He opens up his tin and he sees corned beef and cabbage. Corned beef and cabbage. Every day I've got corned beef and cabbage for lunch. I'm with you, fellas. If I get one more damn corned beef and cabbage in my lunch pail, I'm jumping off too. The day goes by, they go home. The next day comes and they're working. Lunchtime arrives. The 3 fellas go up to their beam and the Scotsman opens up his tin. He sees haggis. And he jumps off the building. The Englishman opens it up. He sees ham and English mustard. And he jumps off the building. Murphy opens up his tin. He sees corned beef and cabbage. And he jumps too. Now we've got a triple funeral. The wives are beside themselves. The Scotsman's wife, if I had only known that he didn't want haggis every day, I wouldn't have put it in his lunch bin every day. They said, it's all right, dear, you didn't know. And the Englishman's wife, if I'd known he didn't want ham and English mustard every day, I wouldn't have put it in there. They say, it's all right, dear, you didn't know. And then they turn a sympathetic eye toward Mrs. Murphy. And she looks up and she says, what? Don't look at me. He makes his own lunch. I wish I had the sound of crickets I could just play. That would be at least something, some sort of reaction. Anyway, those are the silly jokes. I've got some more of them. No, I don't. Don't leave. This is an exceptional song, and I'm going to explain it to you. There's a famous group that came out in the early 60s, made a big splash here in America. They were an Irish folk group called the Clancy Brothers, and featuring Tommy Makem. Now, Tommy Makem went on to write a beautiful song about the struggles in Ireland. As I've mentioned before, there are 32 counties in Ireland, and 6 of them are under British rule, Northern Ireland. That's why sometimes if you've ever been on the highway and you see a car with a bumper sticker that says 26 plus 6 equals 1, that's not bad math. They didn't go to a bad elementary school. That's an Irish bumper sticker, meaning the 26 counties plus the 6 counties will become one Irish nation once again. This song is called Four Green Fields, written by Tommy Makem, and it's a metaphorical song. I've heard this song many times. It's beautiful, but I didn't quite understand it or what it meant to people who listen to it. So I'll explain it to you real quick. You'll hear about a fine old woman. That's one of the characters in this song. The fine old woman is Ireland herself as a whole, as a nation. The four green fields that they refer to it's like a farming term where you split up the field, into 4 sections so you can rotate. Sorry, who am I apologizing for? I guess anyone at home that heard it. So there are 4 green fields, which is Ireland divided into 4. Now, one of those fields is the upper right one, is under British rule, and those are the strangers. So those are the metaphors you need to know, and I hope you enjoy this song with a capo. I am capable of putting this capo on. This is called Four Green Fields by Tommy Makem. What did I have? Said the fine no more. What did I have? This proud old woman did say I had four fields. Each one was a jewel, till strangers came and tried to take them from me. I had 5 strong sons who fought to save my jewels before I made and that was my grief, said she. Said goodbye. This proud old woman did say there was no death. Oh, and village, my children start. By mountain, valley, and sea, and then when Christ, they shook the very heavens, and died for freedom. Right away with their blood, said she. Said it's for now. I have what one of them is stranger's hands. You try to take it from me, but my sons, as brave as were their fathers, and my for will bloom once again, said she, just like for will bloom once again, said she. Beautiful song by Tommy Maker. Ah. I have to chop some songs because I can't believe we're running out of time already. That's wacky, but at least you can hear the jokes. I think they're sometimes better than the music. For instance, one about Murphy. Murphy's going to a football game, which is soccer over there, soccer over here, football over there. Round ball football, how about that? And it's a big match, and oh, he can't wait. He finally got tickets, but he's late. He's late getting to the game, and he can't find a parking spot anywhere. It's a championship game. He can hear the game starting. He's driving around panicking because he can't find a parking spot. So he starts praying. He says, Lord, Lord, I'm not a praying man, but if you just find me a parking spot, I'll go back to church every Sunday. He looks around. Nothing. He drives around another 5 minutes. He can hear the game going on. The cheers. Oh, I'm missing it. I'm missing it. Lord, Lord, I'm not a praying man, but if you can find me a parking spot, I'll go back to church every Sunday and I'll stop drinking. Nothing. He drives around another 5 minutes. He's desperate. The first quarter is just about over. He says, Lord, I'm at my wit's end here. I'm not a praying man, but if you just find me a parking spot, I'll go to church every Sunday. I'll stop drinking and I'll stop fooling around on the wife. And just as he says that, he sees a parking spot open up on the left. He says, never mind, Lord, I found one myself. And anyway, there you go. There's a Murphy joke. I'm going to sing a quick song. It's a song I wrote called The Drinking Song. And it goes like this. I'm just a drinker. I drink all the time. I drink Irish whiskey. I drink beer and wine. I drink and I drink and I drink without care. If you can't find me drunk, I'm out drinking some. The I drink with my breakfast and I drink with my lunch. I drink before dinner, I'm right after brunch. I drink when I'm thirsty, I drink when I'm not, and I'll drink you right out of whatever you got. And I'm just a drinker, I drink all the time. I drink Irish whiskey, I drink beer and wine. And I drink it, I drink it, I drink without care. If you can't find me drunk, I'm out drink. So when I drink when I'm working, and I drink when I'm bored. I drink with the devil, so we drink to the Lord. I drink every evening, I drink every morning, and they say I was drinking before I was born. Talk about water, she drank all the time. She sent down some whiskey, she sent down some wine. And I drink it, I drink it, I drink without care. If you can't find me drunk, I'm out drink. Well, now I drink here and there, and I drink now and then. I've been drinking so much that I'm sober again. I'm told I should quit, and here's what I say: I'll stop drinking tomorrow, but it's always today. So I just drink. I drink all the time. I drink Irish whiskey. I drink beer and wine. And I drink and I drink and I drink without care. If you can't find me drunk, I'm out drinking somewhere. It's a drink and I drink and I drink without care. If you can't find me drunk, I'm out drinking somewhere. True story for me. All right then. I'll tell you what, Murphy had a bit to drink himself, you know. He would come home drunk night after night. Mrs. Murphy said, that's it. If you come home drunk one more night, I'm locking you out, I'm throwing you out, and you'll be out for good. He says, ah. Then the very next night he comes home stankin' drunk. Oh boy. But he came home late enough to know that his wife was already asleep because he could hear her snoring. She's got a loud snore she has. He could hear it outside the door. He comes to the front door and he hears that she's snoring outside the bedroom window. So all I have to do is sneak in and she'll know nothing. He opens up the door, creak, because he hasn't oiled that hinge that she's been asking him to for months. And it's making so much noise. He stops it halfway through. He cocks an ear. Okay, she's still sleeping. So he tiptoes in. He takes his shoes off, puts them at the bottom of the stairs, and takes one step, 2 steps. On the 3rd step, he slips, falls on his backside. Now he's got a glass flask in his back pocket. It breaks, it shatters, and it cuts him up, and he goes, oh! And he listens. She's still snoring. So he picks himself up, he gets up to the bathroom. He's cut his backside up pretty good with that glass. So he looks in the mirror, and he takes a box of Band-Aids, and he slaps a Band-Aid on every spot of red that he could see. Pulls himself together, gets in bed, she's still sleeping. He's done it. Success. He wakes up the next morning, she's standing over him with a rolling pin, saying, you were drunk last night. He says, it's a lie. What would make you say such a thing? She says, what would make me say such a thing? Well, it might be that the front door is half open. It might be that your shoes and some liquid are at the bottom of the stairs. But it's definitely all the Band-Aids on the mirror. Murphy's hanging out in the pub with his friends. They're talking about how they all think their wife is cheating on him. One says, I think my wife is cheating on me with a plumber. They say, why do you say that? He says, I found a plunger under the bed. He says, oh. The other one says, or I'm sorry, near the dresser, whatever it is. And the other one says, I think my wife is cheating on me with an electrician. He says, why do you think that? He says, I found a pair of wire cutters on the bedstand. So, oh. Murphy says, I think my wife is cheating on me with a racehorse. They said, what? A racehorse? What makes you think that? He says, I found a jockey under my bed. You can't all be winners. All right. Let me also get some. Murphy, by the way, no, I'll tell you more about Murphy after this song. I don't have too much time, so I want to make sure that I get these songs in there. I'd like to sing a song that everyone associates with Irish culture and St. Patrick's Day. Truth be known, the words, I believe, were written by a Scotsman and a no lyrics. I mean, and the melody was written by an Englishman, but you put the two together, you got an Irishman maybe. Anyway, the song is called Danny Boy. And if you don't know what the song is about, you've heard it all your life. You know, oh, there's a song everyone cries at, but why? It's the song about a young man being called off to war. So it's really a story that is always timeless, unfortunately. Now, back then they would call out, there was no telephones, there was no mail per se. So they would use bagpipes, just like some people use drums or smoke signals or, you know, things to communicate from far away. The Irish and the Scottish used bagpipes, and there were certain tunes that would blow that would be, you know, the communication. So this one was Call Off to War, calling all the able-bodied young men from the land to come to fight for Ireland, in this case. The song is sung from the point of view of one of his parents, which is the beauty of the song. It can be sung by a man or a woman. It does not lose its power. So this is one of the parents singing to this young man, you have to go to war, you're being called, and we will wait for you. Please come back. Please come back to us any time of the year, summer, spring, fall, winter. And if and when you do return to us, and we are no longer alive, then go to where we're buried and say a prayer. That's the entire song, Danny Boy. And this is Quality H2O. No pipes, I'm calling from glen to glen, and down mountain side. The summer's long, and all the roses. Tis you, tis you, must go, and I must find. But from you by, when summer's in the meadow, or when the is hush and white with till I'll treat sunshine on shadow. Oh, baby boy, I love you so. But when you come, I draw the flowers on night. If I am there, I stay, I will make you. You'll come and find the place where I am. And kneel and say, and I'll beg for me. And I shall hear the soft tread of me. I know never sweeter. Tell me that you shall sleep in peace until you Whew. That leaves us 3 minutes. Oh no. Oh no. You know who played I gotta tune this up. I apologize for the out of tune guitar on that one. You know who played a really good version of Danny Boy? Murphy. Murphy used to stand out on the street corner with his violin, a case open, like to get some extra money, you know. And at the end of Danny Boy, oh, a woman came up with tears in her eyes. She says, "When you played Danny Boy, you made me cry." He said, "Ah, are you Irish?" She said, "No, I'm a musician." But Murphy got his comeuppance, unfortunately. He's no longer with us. Murphy won the trip of a lifetime, a private tour of the Guinness factory, where they make the beautiful Guinness lager and stout and what's the other one I'm looking for? The one I like, Smittix. So anyway, Murphy gets himself a private tour of the Guinness factory, but he gets so excited that he falls over a railing into a giant vat of Guinness, and he drowned. They had to tell his poor wife the sad news. She said, "Oh dear, did he suffer much?" They said, "We don't think so. He got out 3 times to pee." Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties we had earlier in the program. If you are like my wife and I and are being very careful during these crazy times, since pandemic, if you want some entertainment and some company, my wife and I do a Facebook concert 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. We have a different theme all the time. You can join us by logging on to Rain Ryan. That's her Facebook page. My wife's name is Rain, as in the rain coming down. Rain Ryan, Facebook page. Join us anytime you like. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, anytime you like. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But there's rebroadcast. Right now, I'd like to do a little medley of some sing-alongs that everyone knows. Please join along on this last bit of musical fun. My father sang a song to me in tones so sweet and low. Just a simple Irish tea, with a good old Irish man. And I'd give the world if I could only hear her sing today. That's an Irish lullaby. Now Irish goes, the sweetest blood that grows. Search everywhere, but nothing can compare to my wild Irish goes. My wild Irish goes, the dearest blood that grows. I'm someday for my sake, She gave me take. When you put my life, she goes, everybody. When I shine, that's my destination. Sure, this life, the morning spring. In the middle of Irish laughter, you can hear the sing. When Irish fights are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. But when Irish eyes are smiling, don't you steal your heart away. Yes, when Irish eyes are smiling, so I could see your heart. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Hilda, and everyone at the library. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending. It was a great performance, and thank you, Ed. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you much. Bye.